Hello and welcome to my February Plan With Me video. Welcome back to my channel if you've been here before, and welcome for the first time if it's your first time here. If it is your first time here, make sure to subscribe for more bullet journal content. I've got several videos planned and you definitely don't want to miss them, so hit that subscribe button. So this month my theme for February is moths, because I came across a lot of moth themed art on Pinterest and Instagram and I thought it would make a really cute theme. And when I was looking at pictures of real moths for sort of colour inspiration and inspiration for the markings of the wings and stuff, I saw a couple of moths that were like really vibrant pink and yellow, and it wasn't at all what I expected, because the kind of moths that you get in the UK are just like brown things that flap into your face. So yeah, these vibrant, beautiful moths were my inspiration for the month. So I chose to paint the moths throughout this setup pink, yellow and orange for the wings, and there's some accents of like green and brown and beige in there as well, just to keep it a little bit more neutral and a bit more tame. So for this month's quote, you can see I wrote, "Happiness is an inside job," which I thought was a really nice, positive quote and gives permission to provide your own happiness for yourself instead of needing that to come from other people or outside material things. And the paintings that are on this whole cover spread were fairly simple to do. I just had leaves to fill in the space, and the metallic circles I originally did with the Kaleidoscope Colours Pearl colour in the shade Mermaid, which shifts from pink to blue, and it is really, really pretty. I really loved how it looked, but I didn't look how the blue shift in particular looked with the rest of the colours in the setup. It sort of clashed and it just wasn't meshing as well as I wanted it to, so instead I used an orange pearl colour and I went over that off camera, which I definitely preferred. And that's one really good thing about the Kaleidoscope pearl colours, is they're really opaque, so they are really good for going over other paints. So if you do make a mistake with the colours like that, you can really easily cover it up, which I for one really appreciate because I quite often do. Sometimes I've seen on Instagram in particular people saying that they're not that opaque, and I think that is a technique issue. So what I do is I add a bit of water into the pan. I've got like a little spray bottle and I'll usually just like do a couple of sprays of water into the pan, and then I let that sit for about 10 to 20 minutes, like a really long time, so that it really soaks into the paint. And then I just wet my brush and swirl my brush in the pan and I get it gorgeously opaque, like it just covers everything in sight. So yeah, if you just go in with a wet brush and then straight away use that on the dry pan and then use that, then you can get a really pretty like wash of just shimmer, but you won't get that really opaque look doing that. So this following page is a calendar spread which goes across 2 pages, and I find spreads like this ridiculously satisfying to do, and they're quite satisfying to watch sped up as well, I find. Just like the rhythm of drawing the lines is really fun. But yeah, to paint the moths throughout this setup, I always started with their bodies. I just used the brown paint on the bodies and the little feathery antenna things, and then I went in to do the wings. And this theme I think is a really good one for like playing with the watercolour techniques, because in the wings you just have total freedom to do whatever paint techniques come to mind. So what I was doing, I mostly let that base layer of paint get sort of semi-dry, and then I dotted in wet paint of a different colour to create like spots on the wings, or to line the sort of tips and the edges of the wings for a different colour in the wings. And and sometimes I let it dry completely and then I just painted patterns onto that for extra detail, and sometimes I used just 2 wet colours to create like a gradient from one shade to another. I did one that was from yellow to pink and it came out really pretty. I was really happy with it. So yeah, this is a really good theme for if you really want to experiment with the paint and see what techniques you can make work in your journal, and it was a lot of fun to do and to put together. And once the watercolour paintings were completely dry, I used some white acrylic paint to add some extra designs to them, just mainly crescent moon shapes as well as like lines and dots, and they just added like a little bit of interest to the spreads, I thought, because they look pretty with just like the colours, but they're sort of bare until I added that acrylic paint. And to begin with, I was using a Posca paint pen, which gave me a lot of control, and I was having a lovely time doing that, and then the paint ran out completely, which I've never had happen. I've been using my paint pen, the same paint pen, for like 3 years, and all of a sudden it just gave up on me. So while I was waiting for a new one to be delivered, I just went in with just straight acrylic paint on a paintbrush. So it's a bit less controlled, it's a bit messier than I would have liked, but I think the details really do add something to the designs of the moths, and you can really go crazy, you know, like if you prefer sort of like heart designs or flowery designs, you can have some heart covered flowery moths. They don't have to be like lines and dots like I did, it's quite simple. So yeah, it's a really good opportunity to have total freedom, total control for the designs, and just have a play really. For my habit trackers, I just did little circle shapes for every day of the month, and what I'll do is I'll colour in the dots on the days where I do those habits. I love setting up February because you could just get really symmetrical spreads like this. So each row of dots for my habit trackers just has 14 on it, and they all line up perfectly and look beautiful, and yep, February is a very good month. It made the weekly spreads really satisfying as well, because obviously the weekly spreads make up just 4 pages with 7 days on each of them, and that's it, it's all perfect. You don't have any like leftover days. Like I find with a 31 day month, I always end up with like 3 leftover days that just ruin everything. And I love that that doesn't happen with February, so I was very happy setting up my February spread with all the symmetry, and yeah. But here you can see how I laid out the weekly spreads for this month. It's literally just 7 boxes of equal sizes, because I do as much on a Tuesday as I do on a Saturday, and there's space for 2 moth paintings on each of them. I only included 1 weekly spread page in this video because it is just the same process 4 times, so I think that just seeing one of them is enough to get the gist of my process and what I was doing and how that looked. And off camera I did the last page of the month, which is a similar setup to my weekly spreads, but instead of having 7 boxes I just had 2 boxes, and I use one of those boxes to write my monthly to-do list of things that aren't date or day specific, as well as a monthly review to sort of evaluate how the month has been for me. And on that page I've got space to draw another moth and some more mushrooms. I really enjoyed painting the mushrooms. But yeah, you'll be able to see that page that I was talking about, as well as the other weekly spreads, just for some more inspiration during the flip through, which is coming up shortly. Okay, so here we are coming up to the end of the video, so I can just take this opportunity to say thank you so much for watching this, especially if you got this far in. I really appreciate that. If you did enjoy this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. That really helps me to grow my channel. But anyway, goodbye for now, and hopefully I'll see you very soon for my March Plan With Me video.